A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mwangu Shampagi, and with me in studio tonight, let me introduce a full male panel. Problem we still have to deal with, dominance of the male gender on this show and discussing a lot of politics. Chris, I was at some function the other day and someone was saying, why don't you also discuss things like marriage and those other things on the Fourth Estate? I said we'll consider. Let me introduce my colleague. Chris Obore was missing in action last Sunday. Chris, nice to have you back.
Yeah.
We put a dangerous substitute in your place in the name of Solomon Ruanja.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, as you grow older, your interest in your ancestors becomes big. So I have always to be near.
So you'd gone to pay.
I always have to be near Teso.
You'd gone to pay libation.
Whatever they call it.
Libation.
So I have to keep going there and come back.
Fabrice Rulinda, Brad Fabrice Rulinda, is a communication specialist, not just in Uganda but in the region, and he's a businessman. Fabrice, very nice to have you.
Nice to be back here, Charles.
And you, most of your communication specialization is around politics, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Very nice to have you. We have Onapito Ekomoloit, Corporate Affairs Director, and our brewer is S.A.B. Miller. He's very many things, and I don't want to go into that, but a very well-respected and senior journalist, or now communications expert.
S.A.B. Miller.
S.A.B. Miller, formerly at State House.
Obore's absence from the show last week showed why country needs some people to be around. Not just on this show, but even in politics.
You mean his absence was evident? It was evident in the discussions that we had. What are you saying about us holding the discussion? And
that one is my elder. So
Moses Kisa is a political science student at PhD level now. You write very regularly in The Observer.
That's right.
You do some teaching as well.
That's right.
And you're doing a lot of research.
True.
Very nice to have you, Moses.
My pleasure, Charles, and thank you for
We'll be discussing a very broad topic, looking at the recent creation of more counties that automatically result in more constituencies and a larger parliament and a larger administrative structure, and asking the question, bringing services nearer to the people or political gerrymandering? We're having a discussion just before we came on air, which I would like to pick up on, which was a discussion about the benefits of maintaining today's stability and how it impacts future stability. We'll discuss that briefly, but as part of the broader discussion. I want to start with Onapito Ekomoloid. You sat in Parliament representing a constituency. At your time, it was actually a county, not just a constituency. You served in State House. You were a journalist, ran and founded newspapers, and you have taught journalism. My question to you is, when you look at the number of counties growing and meaning that directly they will impact the size of that parliament, we are adding more than 60 new counties now, which are actually constituencies. And we started a few years ago creating more districts, expanding the administrative structure. Does this in real terms result in taking services nearer to the people, or is it a function of political gerrymandering, as they have called it?
Look, Charles, I think it's purely the latter. I mean, if anybody wanted to become an MP and you have a constituency that someone has dominated for a while, but you have been winning in a certain portion of it, logically you would want it to be split and you take the portion where you are popular. So I think this creation is naked politics. Nobody can argue otherwise, because if you are talking about delivering services, there is no way increasing number of MPs can increase service delivery. I was just looking at the numbers involved, and I did a quick calculation. I think there are going to be about 50-something new MPs out of the new municipalities, new counties, stroke constituencies. And I calculated that for every new MP, the equivalent annual salary would result in about 15 boreholes, which is something which the country cherishes in terms of clean water.
Per month?
Per year. And if you add all the new MPs, for the 5 years they will be in Parliament, you would construct an equivalent of about 4,300 boreholes out of the salaries they are going to earn. So just imagine plowing those number of boreholes into the existing constituencies instead of paying salaries to the new MPs. Then you are talking of service. But there's also the argument of saying you need more representation. I think that is being overstretched. If you needed more representation, I think we should increase the interest groups. People like corporates who pay a lot of taxes, I think genuinely deserve a place in Parliament. Because there's an argument that there is no representation without
no tax without
representation. But I think our people who are currently being represented are represented fairly enough. So, but from a purely political point of view, this is understandable. The president is under pressure. He went, for example, I think to Mubende and said no more municipalities. When he comes out Kampala, some people organize borders to riots, and next, Mubende is a municipality. So this is one of the reasons why I've been for long cynical arguing that maybe we don't need elections as regular as we have, because elections instead become a drain on the economy. Because the political actors, you can't blame them. They need to satisfy constituencies, and this is what happens.
Moses,
yes, sir.
Who benefits from the creation of these constituencies? Because once you create a new county, you create a new elective position. Everybody can compete for it and win it. That's the argument that someone puts across. But if you look at the history of creation of districts, which resulted in creation of new constituencies, and now those constituencies are graduating into counties and presented as administrative structures, I am still looking through the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development literature to find what services are delivered at county level that are not that are unique from, because the service delivery centers is at a district and at a sub-county.
That's right.
The two units, which is a county and a parish, are not service delivery centers.
Redundant.
Yes. So, who benefits from this?
Well, first of all, I want to agree with Honour Pito that this is vintage political gerrymander. When you consider that it's being done a few months to the next elections, then you have to agree that those who are doing it with a political objective at hand. But the short answer to your question is that the beneficiaries are the political elite at the top and at the local level. The president is going to be able to reap political dividends out of this. Remember that if you look at recent elections, previous elections, you see that whenever a new district has been created somewhere, the president tends to have massive support there. They reward him. And he always actually says that during campaign time, that, you know, I gave you this, so you have to deliver in terms of the votes. So the beneficiary, the key beneficiary for this is the president. The second beneficiary are the political elites at the local level, at the constituency level, who are now going to cash in by winning a seat in parliament. You have to remember that when the president first wrote about the creation of new constituencies, he said there are some places where certain groups are marginalized. Okay? And what is he saying? That there are some elites in certain places who feel left out of the political cake. And so space should be created for them. And that is precisely what is being done. But I also wanted to say something about the whole rationale of creating constituencies. You see, creating constituencies is supposed to be rationalized. There has to be a standard way of arriving at where should a new constituency be created. Now ask yourself, has that been done? Absolutely not. This morning I was reading a very interesting opinion by the leader of opposition, Wafula Gutu, and he actually raised the issues that I hadn't thought about. For example, we no longer have counties in our local government administrative structure in this country. Counties were phased out. As you rightly said, we have the district, we have the sub-county, and we have the village. Okay. Now, the Minister of Local Government, Adolf Mwisige, is the one who tabled the bill in Parliament, creating counties, not constituencies. But these counties are going to be constituencies. The constituencies are supposed to be created by the Ministry of Justice and the Electoral Commission.
Just a moment, Moses.
Sure.
Are you suggesting, therefore, that the creation of these new counties is actually outside of the law?
It is illegal. It is unconstitutional and illegal because constituencies are supposed to be created by the Electoral Commission following a certain formula of saying, look, the population here has gone up by this many number of people, and therefore there is need to create another constituency. Okay? The president at one point actually talked about how many people should be in one constituency. I think his figure was something like 80,000. Okay? Now, you ask yourself, are there constituencies where actually the actual number of people in that county have been determined for it to be created? See, this has been a function of presidential pronouncement. The president went to Mubende, as Onapito was saying, and people, said, oh, we want this, and he said, okay, you'll have it. There hasn't been any rationalization, and I think that is where we should start from. Have these new constituencies been rationalized? I'm actually calling them constituencies, but they are counties. But secondly, are they justified?
Chris, let me put a question to Chris. Are they justified? Have they been rationalized? I know we're going to walk off this set, and we'll have a lot of people unhappy with us because the clamor, the initial number that was presented by Adolf Mwesiga in Parliament, and then the petitions that came from people who say, we also want.
Justified by who? Using what standard? I think...
You're the guy who does investigation. So.
Moses was trying to... I was looking at the failure of this process to be technically driven. It's more politically driven. Of course, politics is superior, but better politics is anchored on proper connection between the politics and the technocrats. In this essence, the technocrats are bystanders, and the politicians are the ones who bring in petitions to create constituencies. That's why I see a very big problem, that now it is a political-driven process for a political end. And when you talk about justified by who? It is the politics that justifies what is done. And in either case, if we chastise politics, we will be dealing in wishful reasoning. The truth here should be, a question should be, when we are playing the politics, to what end? We have not determined the end of playing our politics. And to me, that's a bigger dilemma in this country. There's nothing wrong anybody declaring what to be what, but to what end? It's not agreed. So we are running around, this group says the other. Eventually, Uganda is a very deformed country now. Planning-wise deformed, psychologically deformed, morally finished, everything. So what we are doing, we are fishing in that water. Each one is struggling to get a slight semblance of a fish from the water. And that is the biggest problem. we want clean water, but by all of us all making it that way, we are all swimming in it. And then we are saying clean water is good. No one is staying back to say, for it to be clean, let us do this. And that's what the problem is. Even Museveni was saying is on trying to create this. If he didn't create it, he wouldn't be a president. And if he says no, he will not lead. And you're not going to ask Museveni, please be benevolent, you just go away, you leave. Leave it to who? So we are already trapped in a process that is so dangerous that even the population we claim as elites, by the way, to represent, there is a departure between the electorate interests and us, the elite. We are actually trying to use the elite to justify what we think. The elite, being the electorate, the ordinary people, are more dangerous politically now than even the MPs you are talking about. If you doubt me, I can challenge you, Kiza, go to your village. I don't know where your village is. Right now, go to your village, see a problem in your community, and say, I offer to support this community. Say, go and do a bridge. Then tell them, you are falling in this water, I am calm, I have cement, I have everything. Please, gentlemen, this bridge is good for us. You will have to pay them allowance to come and do everything. If you leave your cement there meant for their bridge, they will steal all of it. I can assure you. That means the concept of public good has been destroyed in this country. To me, that's what the dilemma is. None of us appreciate the collective good. Okay. We are all riding for individual good, including the peasants you are talking about.
Fabrice, who benefits? Everybody has talked about the elite benefiting. Where does the electorate stand in this? Because some of the clamor, genuinely, like Kisa talked about, I think Kisa and both Onapito talked about the Mubende clamor for a municipal status. There's a lot of excitement. I come from Fort Portal. and there have been some meetings because Fort Portal is supposed to become a city. So they are annexing Brasha County and Fort Portal municipality into Fort Portal municipality to create the tourism city of Fort Portal. I understand the other one is supposed to be the oil city in Hoima. There's supposed to be a city in Imbarara. There's supposed to be a city, I think, in Lira. There's supposed to be a city in Arua. Gulu. All those are supposed to be cities.
And Mbale is complaining.
Mbale is complaining. I am told Imbarara voted against it. The council wasn't very sure. But Fort Portal, the council the Kabarole District Council voted to create that city. So the discussion about what do we need as a people, the discussion about what does this bring has completely gotten lost. Who benefits from this?
Thank you, Charles. I think this is a question of, like Chris said, the public versus the elite. Here's the issue. Whenever the elite come up, they talk about Museveni benefiting from this. But you're looking at one person, and then you come and say, okay, you know what, this is going to benefit the political elite, this is going to benefit the president, but you're not looking at the fact that if people were organized enough, like they are, Chris just talked about the fact that if you go down to the village right now and say you want to build that bridge, someone is going to ask you to pay them to have that bridge there. He's going to ask, even if it's to benefit him, he's going to say, pay me before you can do this service. Now, here's the thing. Opposition may come up and shoot at this. But if they can actually organize and say, I don't agree that this is gerrymandering. I'm looking at this as purely a question of democracy. Democracy is a lot of people as opposed to a few people. Now, this is something, you may look at it and say, no, Museveni is going to benefit from this. But is Museveni asking for this himself? Okay. Or are people asking to have this done for them?
Can we pick this up after a short commercial break? I'll start with you. We'll be right back. Taking services near to the people or political gerrymandering?
Or both.
The popular view, or both, yes, thank you. It seems to be the majority on this side tonight believe that it is pure politics, simple. I think as simple as that. Fabrice, I said I will come back to you.
Yes.
You say the people demanding. And I asked you a question, it's not about who is demanding, who is benefiting. How do I, if I live in Chitugulu, and you create another county out of Entebbe municipality, how do I benefit?
You see, let's look at purely the administration. That's job creation.
How many jobs are created by creating a new job?
It's job creation. No, you see, even if there are 5 jobs, that's 5 more jobs than we had last week.
At what cost?
Okay, that's 5 more jobs that we had last week. Let's also look at, they talked about the ethno and linguistic point of view. When you look at the situation, you look at, say, you go to, you talked about your area, okay? You have the Bakonjo, and you have the Batoro.
And the Bachiga,
and they're all in that area. Now, there are some places where it has failed. Governing those people because of those issues, those ethno or linguistic issues, you have a serious problem, okay, in governance or in administration. Dividing that place makes a lot of sense.
And then you sharpen the differences by telling people you actually are not like those people. That's why we have given you.
No. You see, that one is not saying that, oh, you are so different that you need to be apart. What that says is, if we're going to have an administration, because you see, election time, especially in Uganda, a lot of things come up. Even in urban areas, you have a lot of things that come up, like
sorry, why don't you do the trade-off? Onapito gave us the statistics, which he worked out. Okay. You send another 60 members of parliament into parliament. The salary you pay them would have built 4,300
boreholes.
Borehole.
Yeah.
If we had a borehole in our area that is dominated by the Babuisi, which is an ethnic community in Bundibujo, and another borehole in an area dominated by the Bamba, still in the same district. You mean that it's more service to have an LC3 chairperson than having a borehole?
No, I wouldn't particularly say that. But you see, this is I want to look at this in retrospect. Instead of focusing on saying, okay, now here is the borehole, here is water, here is that. I think the problem of Uganda is not necessarily the number of parliamentarians that we have. It is the quality that we send in.
And the quality is dictated by?
The quality is dictated by, 1, organization, 2, the people. Okay? Instead of saying, you know, I like the fact that whenever elites sit together, they talk about all the problems and all that. So how about we sit down and we talk about the solutions? How about, because you see this here, the way you can sit, these are beautiful minds seated in one place. Okay? How about educating the people about quality instead of quantity? Because it's cutting down the numbers. Even if you went down and you cut down to 10 MPs, it would not be a solution if we're still sending a terrible quality.
Let's not address the symptoms in this. All of this we're discussing are things that happen today.
Yes, sir.
But we must put them in a context. The biggest challenge in Uganda is lack of a national agenda. We don't have. And the failure at the elite, at the top, to build consensus, so that we have rallying points, what we need as a country and how we need, where we need to go. In the absence of that, it is now each person trying to it's actually politics of blackmail that we play, other than politics that can produce what we want. So once blackmail is the modus operandi of our politics, it is dangerous for that one who is in the power, and also for those who are not in the power. And more dangerous to those who are nowhere near power. This is where we are. So the creation of the district, the creation of the constituencies arises from that. Because power, everybody needs power. Those who have the power need to maintain power. Those who don't have power need to get to power. But in the absence of a national consensus, the rules become dangerous. First of all, the structure of our politics is not there. The rules are bent anytime. So anyone today, that's what we call freedoms, by the way. In Uganda, we are too free even to be mediocres. That's the freedom we have. We are free to be anything without moving forward. So a few take. So if you see that lacking at the national level, you blame now lack of quality. It's not the lack of quality. It's the lack of consensus. Quality can come where consensus is agreed. But now, if you are an MP, let me give you, if you are an incumbent today, now Parliament is struggling with the quorum. I hear announcements everywhere, please come and attend. And everybody is angry. These people are earning a lot of money. But to be honest, I cannot sit in Parliament when Fabrice, who wants to be an MP in the municipality, is in every barrio. And what is he signaling? I'm ineffective. He has disappeared. What is he?
I'm not in touch with
you who wants to go to Parliament is telling electorate that the other has disappeared because they're in Parliament. Is it the point? So you are lying. There should be something to deter you from playing blackmail on your opponent, such that the opponent considers a national duty. But you, the aspirant, will want to be happy that you're on the ground. Now what happens? The one in the power says, okay, I live here, let me also go to the field. The common man is confused the more. So even the way you see they are creating districts, because it's not technically driven, even the naming shows you the more worries an Apito has. After these constituencies, they are going to be a demand for districts. Let me give an example. In Bukedia, it's just one county. They have created the Kachumbala constituency now. Kachumbala is one
county.
Yes, it's one sub-county in the Bukedia district. Even the naming now, Kachumbala is going to feel we are not Bukedia. Because there's nothing Bukedia now in them. Some Orungo from Amuria. It is one district of Amuria.
One sub-county.
Yes, called Orungo. Now Orungo tomorrow will say those people from Amuria. Even the naming, I hear some of them somewhere are very wise. Either they call them Amuria East or Amuria West. Bukedia South or Bukedia North. That is not some psychological thing that we are one. But what they are doing, those who want, who petition, give us ours. They don't see tomorrow. How will it impact? I will not be surprised when sub-county called the Kachumbala will demand to be a district out of Bukedia. Because there's nothing Bukedia in them. Even just the naming.
And the ethnic composition, people begin remembering.
People begin to say,
when you say that.
Fabrice, could you hold it a moment? Let's bring back Ona and Kisa into the discussion.
I wanted to ask
the other day,
Fabrice a quick question.
Sure.
You see, you talked about quality. Absolutely. All of us know that the quality of the Ugandan parliament is not much.
I think you need to be fair to Parliament. There are district councils that cannot discuss because they do not have a language to discuss. So councillors at the district level, councillors at the sub-county level, it is a chain of leadership that starts right from the bottom up to the top.
But here's my question, Charles. Fabrice raised an important point of quality. Do you improve the quality by creating more? Does the creation of new constituencies and the increase in the size of parliament going to give us better quality?
No, but my response to that is simple. It is not, you see, Chris mentioned that we keep talking about symptoms. Okay?
Yeah.
And here's the problem. Every time elites meet to talk, they keep pointing at those problems. What are actually the solutions to these things? Now you tell me creating these new districts is not the solution.
Can we clarify? My job is try and make sure that we keep
constituencies.
Counties, not constituencies.
Right.
They have called them counties.
Yeah.
Because constituencies, like Kisa said, are supposed to be created by law under the Electoral Commission Act.
Right.
Looking at the numbers.
Right.
Counties are an administrative structure provided for in the Local Government
non-existent,
Act.
actually.
Yes. Local Governments Act gives that leg room for effective governance of the country.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Keyword being effective governance. Okay, keyword being effective governance.
Can you break down what is effective governance?
Keyword being effective governance. You see, some of these things you've talked about that chain of command. You go and look at some places. I'll give an example of Entebbe municipality and Wakiso as a whole. Okay, you go into a certain place and the administration. If you waited for Wakiso to do everything in Entebbe, the time or the actual period for things to happen would be very long, and the service delivery would be very poor. And that's what I talked about, quality versus quantity. The number is not the issue here.
Yes,
but look, I think for me,
let's give an example. President Museveni was in Western Uganda commissioning a road that has taken since the creation of this country to build. The Fort Portal Bundibugyo Lamia Road. Now, along that stretch, you have the traditional, previously it was all Kabarole district. Then the Bundibugyo was created. Then out of Bundibugyo they created the Ntoroko district. Out of Ntoroko district a lot more counties have been created. Now, the people who produce milk in Ntoroko are selling their milk. The people who produce cocoa in Bundibugyo are selling their cocoa. And that looks like it unifies people more than what had been created, like Ntoroko is accounted for Batuku. Bundibugyo is accounted for, is a district for Wamba. And then the ethnic subdivisions in there, we're also beginning to say, no, for us we want ours, and the others want ours. You're coming in with a point. How do what is the trade-off?
Look, I think the solution now is, since we have agreed both the elites and the people are addicted to this creation of new administrative political units, can we then make them units that serve the people? Namely, can they become units of production other than units of consumption? This is the crisis, because districts, constituencies are units of consumption. They are represented by an MP, they are represented by a district chairman, but they are not actually creating wealth. And on this show, I previously argued that since as a country we have really got to believe that a member of parliament is the center of development,
which is wrong.
Can we redefine the role of parliament as opposed to legislation to be actually a unit of government program implementation? So if you are creating a new constituency, can we empower that constituency to deliver service?
What do you need?
Other than just sending one elite to Kampala to come and struggle for
two questions for you. What do you need to empower that member of parliament? Number two, what becomes the role of either the district chairperson or a mayor of
Unfortunately, first of all, people don't have a lot of awareness apparently that this should be the units of development, the sub-counties and districts. They believe in the MP. So I've always argued for focus of resources to the MP and create an enabling structure for him to implement development, other than electing someone who is going to struggle to get his small salary and try to appease, and when he fails, his opponents split the constituency.
Just a moment, Chris. Now, you have a structure that is supposed to have resources. That is the district,
or
the sub-county, or the municipal council, or a city division, in this case. Now, if you say the center of development is the member of parliament, how do you do it?
That's where the public focus is. But see, the whole thing is absurd. It's absurd, let me tell you. Fabrice was talking about job creation, that creating new units like constituencies and districts create jobs for local people. That has been part of the rationalization, which of course is completely outrageous. You don't create jobs by increasing the public sector. Onapito, as a private sector player, will tell you that is the most ill-thought way of creating jobs. A government or a state creates jobs by putting in place the infrastructure that will enable private individuals, engage in production. So the government's role is to foster productivity and production, not to create jobs that are of a political nature. There you are misallocating resources, you are actually engaging in waste. Okay? But you see, the whole thing of creating districts is absurd because I have not come across any study, by the way, that shows that the quality of service delivery in Uganda has increased because we have more districts, because we have more MP.
I'm afraid, gentlemen, we need to take a quick break, but as we take the break, I'll start with you, Chris and Fabrice. I remember sitting with Professor Ephraim Kamonto, justifying the need to split old Bushenyi into the current 5 districts.
Right.
Now, Bushenyi is in a somewhat unique position because I think it's one old district that has possibly the highest number of ministers in cabinet today. Right. And he was looking at an RDC, a cow, a driver, a quota to the university, and he said, am I listening to Professor Kamonto giving this suggestion? Let's take a break. When we come back, I'll pick it up with you, Chris and Fabrice. We'll be right back. Welcome to this last segment. One of the most contentious subjects to discuss, especially at a time like this, when both constituents and the elites that want to represent those constituents are clamoring for creation of more and more and more political elective units. Chris, you had an argument, so I don't want to ask you a question.
Yeah, I had an argument. Onas made that point about how to empower, give more resources to an MP. At first, I frowned at it. It looks a better solution given the current pressures that the MPs have, but it's not a long-lasting solution. And by giving more power to the MPs through development, you are actually making the legislature compete with the executive. That is the role of the executive. The thing we are discussing here is the failure of executive authority to reach the ordinary person. This is what we are discussing. That means the public machinery is dead. Where it exists is very rusty. Because a public machinery is supposed to translate the executive interest up to the grassroots level. And this is a problem Seven is battling with. That way it could be shown in NADS farms which are for individuals. You see the point? You go supervise a NADS, there's no NADS.
There are some which actually were more interesting. They would create a shed, bring goats or cows or pigs, put them in, or build a structure, put in chicken, and then the and say, because this is a progressive farmer, and when he leaves, people come back and claim they are goats.
That means from the parish chief, who are supposed to be part in the lowest in this hierarchy, they are dead. And in fact, the LOC ones are hooligans. They are failing government themselves. Those people you call LOCs, they are the masterminds of blackmailing political actors at the national level. The councillors, those street level of politicians at the lower level, are worse than the parliamentarians we talk about. We talk about them because they are here in Kampala. Their things are broadcast every other day, and we look at them as the
and you have the highest concentration of elected officials in one place, which
and
is
yet, to solve the parliamentary issues of quality you are talking about, it's not a difficult thing. All you need is to insulate an incumbent member of parliament from rogue politicking. I'm not saying don't allow them to be challenged, but insulate them from rogue politicking. That Fabrice wants to become an MP by damaging the one who's already there through either being a philanthropist, you go and donate boreholes, donate the work of government,
and they outdo each other.
You want to outdo the one who's incumbent. Therefore, you are misleading the ordinary population to think they are legislator. However good they are in attending, in a debate, are meaningless. Legislating. So now what we need is stronger electoral laws that check into this. Say if you, in fact, you are not allowed to politic until the EC has blown the whistle. For as long as we allow anybody who has amassed wealth in whatever customers they have made,
including adventurers,
to go and destabilize an incumbent MP, you are not going to have quality in parliament. Because the MP, this is a battle of ego. I am also in parliament. One, they will demand more money. And they will be rightly so to demand. Because when they go home, The villagers don't care whether there is a councillor there who's supposed to address their problems, LOC 3, LOC 5 chairman. Like when Apple identifies, they run to the MP.
Okay.
Where does the MP have a factory to keep giving them the money? He has to ask from Parliament. Now the elite like us, we have decided to attack them. That they are predators. We're not looking at the push factors. So if we want to solve the problem, let's go for the push factors. Let EC be made so strong. Let the government, let the executive authority be felt at the grassroots. The executive, headed by the president, cannot feel the locals. Now they are going to gerrymandering. It is just a consequence.
I'm running the risk of, we're running the risk of focusing on you to be the person who defends these things unfairly, and we think it's unfair to you. So I'll spare this next question to you. I'll bring it back in a moment.
Is he taking one of the new constituencies?
My constituency, I'm not taking any new constituency.
No, he's not vying for a new constituency.
Yes.
You're effectively creating two centers of impoverishment. The Member of Parliament comes here, and because of these overwhelming pressures, he has to find enough fuel. When they were given 100 million the other day, what we forget is that the constituents demand that they are in the constituency, burying every dead person, paying fees, doing all these sorts of things. They become impoverished. And we laugh at them when they become impoverished. And then you have a constituency where constituents do not get services because the money has been sucked out to pay administrators. How do you break this jinx? Because no one is benefiting if you look at it more rationally.
And the ordinary people have lost sense of public good. They want you to pay them to help them.
Private. No, but you see, Charles, allow me to answer this. You see, I think it also comes from managing expectations. You see, when you are
not creating expectations.
No, managing expectations.
You manage the symptom.
No. I'm going to talk about managing expectations. When somebody comes in, if you go into campaigning, people in most cases don't even want to hear. I have met people who tell you, I don't care what your program is. Okay, I want you to give me my leave. He wants his so that he can go with. Someone even tells you to your face straight, I want you to give me whatever it is, I go and you have my vote. Now, here's the issue. I think take a step back. Instead of saying, like Chris said, that we want to the EC to be given more power, and then the EC can block this person from doing good and all that. Look at a genuine situation where there have been those people who actually want to help. I think what we need to teach our people is, one, we talk to them about unity. We talk to them about the greater good for society than talking to them about personal gains. Okay?
The other thing, but as you speak, Chris, Fabrice, you can help, but help through the existing authority.
That's not
Don't go as an altruist.
Okay,
with
now
your money
here's the problem.
And dump it
Now
there.
here's the problem. There are situations where you may want to go in and help. Okay, and say you're going into a place where the opposition or the NRM, say if you are from opposition, is in power, and they're looking at it from the political angle of things, and say, if Fabrice comes and does this right here, it's going to work against our vote. Okay, so you get blocked on that sense. Sometimes there have been situations where you want to go in and help through the proper channels, and you talked about these street politicians who want to go and pocket that. Even the little help that you give in is pocketed, and someone says we did not receive it. I have seen situations where you go and help an association. The person that is the head of that association happens to be, say, falling on the side that's not yours. What he does is, you come in, you talk to people and say, okay, I want to help, but I want to help you through your structures. And after you've given them those things, what the leader does, pockets it and says, it's never arrived. Okay? So you look like a person who made a promise that did not deliver.
I think for me, looking at I think as a country, we can't have our cake and eat it. We can't bury our head in the sand. We must accept that what kind of parliament we need, because this institution is about to run amok. Sooner than later, we shall be having a parliament of 1,000 MPs. So we must decide. Either we want that kind of parliament, or we truly want a group of individuals to make laws, which naturally should be a small group. But if we want a big parliament, which I see is the emerging culture, we must define in our unique Ugandan way what kind of what role will this parliament be playing? If it is to represent the bulk of the elite in the country, such that they go and impact on their societies through handouts, then let's have it, and maybe even increase the level of their capacity to give handouts, to be a way of distributing national wealth. Now. Because it's not corruption. Because the way now people are seeing MPs, they are seeing them as our person is also at the high table, is coming with a piece to give us. So if what we believe as a country should be the role of parliament, let's have it, let's refine it. But if we believe it's make laws, let's abolish the current structure and reduce the parliament. We can't have it that way.
Is it a question of numbers or is it a question of quality?
But even if you had a qualitative 100, I mean 500, just 500 member parliament,
who are high quality.
High quality.
You know,
to what end?
You need to go back down. It doesn't just, you see, this administration, Charles, allow me to say, is not necessarily just about MPs. You need to go back down to the grassroots. From the LC1, what kind of LC1 do you have there? Do you have an actual system with which government projects can be implemented, with which the executive can put down things
I hear you, Fabrice.
I
hear you, Fabrice, and I hear you, Honor. I think the problem is bigger than Parliament, which I agree with, Fabrice. It's bigger than Parliament. The question is, what are the push factors that Chris talked about? When your interest is, if I create a new constituency, Kisa talked about it at the beginning, it will bring immediate dividends in an electoral year.
To the political entrepreneur.
To the political elite. Then you're not discussing service delivery. But Kisa, the Kenyan president is in town since yesterday on his first state visit. And I want us to draw lessons from Kenya. They decided to appease those elite interests. To create a two-structure legislative house. So you have a Senate, a bicameral parliament.
System,
They also created new service delivery centers in those governorships.
They created the counties.
The counties. Expanded them, gave them resources. Is it actually benefiting the ordinary Kenyan?
It might be too early to tell. We have to wait and see, because they only did it, it only started last year. So let's wait and see. Obviously, devolution of power, it has been proved world over, is a better way to improving service delivery. The more power that is devolved to lower level political units, the better there is better monitoring and supervision and delivery of services. But I wanted to give you some quick figures, Charles, since you have raised Kenya. You see, Kenya, I was looking at the numbers, Kenya has 349 MPs, much lower than ours, in a country of 45 million people. And that is a per capita representation of 126,000. Ours is, if the constituencies are increased to 430, we're going to have a per capita representation of about 75,000, which is the lowest in the region. Because Tanzania, with a population of 50 million, has 357 MPs and a per capita representation of 140,000. Rwanda, with a population of 12 million, has 80 MPs, meaning a per capita representation of 150,000. Ours is about 75,000, the lowest in the region. What does this tell us? That something is not right. Something is not right with our politics.
That we're going to deliver better.
Far from it.
Far from it. Far from it. It's like saying teacher to people ratio.
Far from it.
A person who has 50 people,
Fabrice, let me give you some two quick statistics on service delivery. A World Bank report recently found, a World Bank survey reported that up to 30% of public primary school teachers were absent. 30%.
The service delivery indicator report.
Right.
SDI.
Right. And about 27% of those who were present were not teaching. Okay? In effect, you had about 60% of pupils not being attended to at school. In the health sector, the study found that about 35% of the health workers in public health facilities could not diagnose properly 4 out of 5.
Now, to stop you a little.
Now,
in the current arrangement, in the current system of governance, Parliament will say, you can't blame us. There is a system to monitor teachers. I'm saying, with this increasing members of Parliament, to make Parliament more meaningful in that dilemma, give MPs the power and the resources to monitor those services.
And who will do the legislation on Apito?
Hold on. I'm saying the issue here is not the system. The issue here is the execution. That even if you had 1,000 MPs, if we do not take the direction of execution, if we do not take the direction of making sure that we have quality, not necessarily, the numbers here are not the issue.
Where did you know that quality from?
You see,
Chris,
how do you define quality?
We're out of time.
Before we shoot down on Apito's proposal, at first I frowned at it. Remember, you didn't bring it for the first time. But on Apito's proposal is based on the current situation. That if it is actually defeated, what do we do? Let's go this way. But I frown at it because I'm looking at long term. There is a possibility of executive and legislative clash when we go that route.
But there's also legislation. Who is going to legislate?
So hold on. So the issue, if we talk about service delivery, Kisa, you know this, there are two critical issues in service delivery success: the right attitudes and the good right competences. If we went up to the local level, LOCs, their work now is to get money from stamps, to fight land grabbing. They have a thieves who steal cows. They steal borders. The attitude is not to help a community. The attitude is to use my office to consolidate myself. So we have a problem. All that arose because the LOC system is supposed to be within this machinery. When we are talking about boreholes, we are talking about health services, we are talking about education. Where is the executive authority? Because we have a ministry. That power should come from the ministry right after primary school. And I'm saying that's what the problem is. Executive authority is not flowing down to the people. Gentlemen, but if we want to protect Parliament as we speak, it's not a difficult thing. Gentlemen, it is simple. Set the rules of political campaigns right. So that you make
the rules are not necessarily the problem. The rules are not the problem. The rules already existing. The problem of Uganda is not the rules. We have enough laws. We have enough laws to actually govern the country properly. Implementation is the issue.
I can't be MP there, busy legislating, reading through bills, so that we come with a good law. When the fabric is busy going through sub-counties, telling people have not applied from them.
If you have delivered, if you have delivered, that shouldn't be the problem.
No, deliver what?
If you have delivered, that shouldn't be the problem.
Okay, we can also
use running against you as MP.
What is my delivery? My delivery is through bills, through laws.
Yes, but that's not the only. That's not the only job of an MP, though.
I have actually, your urban LC1s do not function. Village LC1s actually are helping arrest thieves in those areas. I have found them in some areas.
Let me tell you. Just within your area, I was in Kagote. That is in the Fort Poto. This is not a land. You go to Kagote, for instance, go to a church. Then you say, let me help a church. There are Christians there. They will clap for you because you are helping build a church. But immediately you help a church, you don't say that he has helped us. There will be a women's group within the church that will come and say, by the way, what about us? Before you know, there will be a Boda group. There will be a youth group. So you find yourself helping one church through all the groups they have. So it is meaningless for you to go to a church and help the people.
Our time is out. The question is
benefited.
Brad, can you please? We got to stop it here.
In one sentence, Charles.
I don't have that opportunity. I'm afraid I don't have that opportunity. We'll have it on another day. This is a debate that must continue and will continue because resources that are supposed to develop this country are getting lost in paying administrative officials, and they are not keeping them to develop themselves because they have spread them.
Resources which are coming from corporate.
We should give evidence.
Elders also want to have an MP. Have a good night. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.